growing up, my father taught us that the only way to succeed was to study hard, go to university, get a high paying job, find someone, get married, buy a house, have kids, save all your money, and then retire, and then enjoy yourself. And that it was all about the hard work and determination. And that's what worked for my parents. That's how they got to have everything they had. So I believed that because that was the environment that I was led to believe was the only way. We were taught it, and we also saw the results of that in the way of the things that we had and the way that we grew up. Unfortunately, though, even though you feel some of those pieces of you rebel against that, you still think, well, hang on, I've got to revert back to what my parents are telling me, because they know, because here's the proof of it. My father even used to try to make us get better grades by paying us for the grades that we got on our report card. So if we got an A, we got $50, and if we got a B, we got $25. And these were incentives for us to try and do better. Don't worry, it didn't work very well. But he put them in there because he believed that was the only way, so much that he put his money behind it, he put his time behind it, and he would lecture us consistently that this was the only way that you could succeed. So as I grew up watching that, I still believed in that, even though I was still internally trying to reject that and trying to do different ways around that and trying to create my own path. I watched my parents build up their assets and their wealth and the things that they were building towards so that they could retire and get into this place where they could do all these holidays and have all these amazing things. But what happened was my father got sick, he had a rare illness, and all the money that they'd saved, all the assets and property and things that they had to sell for his care. And over the few years of where he was approaching his retirement, or where he'd be able to have all this fun because of all this hard work he'd done, he passed away. So even though they had believed in that this was the path and it had proven to them that it worked, when it got down to that piece where they could finally enjoy themselves, it just didn't happen that way. And so even though I still held that belief, but my body and the actions and the things that I was doing as I was growing up were the opposite of that. Especially as becoming an adult, you rebel a little bit. If you've been under some really strict rules like I was for the whole 18 years of your life, once you turn 18, you will do the opposite of everything you were ever taught. And because of that, though, you're still conflicted because you have this inner drive of who you are, but you still have these rules that have been instilled in you, and there's proof that you saw when you were growing up. So as you start to exist and experience your own life in your own ways, eventually those beliefs that you held start to dissipate. They start to break apart because your experiences are now different to the ones that your parents had or the ones that you saw growing up. And it's only once you start to look at those things that you will see, whoa, hang on, I'm holding this belief, but I'm experiencing this. Which one is my truth? And once you open yourself up to one of those flaws or cracks in those beliefs, that's when you'll start to see others. That's when you can start to see which of those thoughts, those ideas, those beliefs, which ones you have inherited, which ones have you brought in because of your experience or because people told you. And, there's a whole plethora of reasons of why we have these beliefs and stories. And that's a whole big conversation. But once you start seeing the crack in just one of those ideas, you will start to see the others sort of become more noticeable, and it's only then that you can look at them and then you can decide whether you want to continue holding on to them as yours or not. Because yes, you do get a choice. You do get to choose whether you want to continue to believe those or whether you just want to create your own.